Kia ora and welcome everybody to our council meeting for the 5th of March 2025, and could we begin with our usual karakia please. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki ota, kia mā tara tara ki tai, hei hia ki ana ki atakura, hei hia, hei hioka, hei hohu, ti hei moho riora. Thank you. And welcome everybody, councillors, staff, media in the room and members of the public who are in the chambers or watching online. We do have an apology from Councillor Olsen. We had also had a request which I approved for Councillor Boyle to zoom in, but at this stage I'm just checking. Councillor Boyle, are you there? No, he's not, and I've not had any word or message from Councillors Young, Horitapa or Barker at this stage. So I'll move those apologies be accepted. Moved by Deputy Mayor Allen, seconded by Councillor Tamihana. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. We do have one late item, and we do need to do a procedural motion to accept that. Grayson, would you mind just reading that? Thank you.
That the item State Highway speed limit reversals be considered as a late item. This item was not available at the time the agenda was published, as this was not a matter that had been previously signalled as requiring a council decision. And consideration on this item cannot wait until the next scheduled council meeting, as the closing date for submissions is before the next scheduled council meeting.
Thank you. So just noting that Councillor Young's joined the table. I'm happy to move that. Councillor Grimstone is seconding that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. All right. Any declarations of interest today? There being none, thank you. All right. So our major item on the agenda is the report for decision on the endorsement of Local Waters Done Well consultation document, which is on page 7. And I'm going to welcome Rob to the table, who will be supported by Lisa and Daniel. While Rob is getting there, can I just move recommendation 7A and B, that the document be received and is recognised as significant, seconded by Councillor Young. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Welcome, team.
Thank you, Mayor Wandin and councillors. Firstly, I want to acknowledge my fellow officers who have worked at pace to ensure this consultation document is in a user-friendly and professional state, allowing the community to engage openly in what is such a complex, however important decision. Equally important, I also want to thank our councillors who have worked with us to apply your thoughts to ensure the document reflected your expectations. I present the draft Local Waters Done Well consultation document and take it as read, and happy to take any additional questions on that.
Any questions from councillors? Councillor Tamihana.
Good, guys. Thank you very much for the report. This is really a huge decision for us that we have to make. I did write to the CE or message the CE, Ms Davidson, this week, just probably with some concerns about the options in front of us, and I thought perhaps limited options. The only consideration I thought might have been that we considered that we try and broaden our scoping outside of the regions we've identified in our options, because I'm really concerned that there seems to be other councils potentially around the council that could be left in limbo as well as through this process. And I'm concerned that we haven't had an opportunity to explore wider with like size, likewise councils to us. And I'm reminded that partnering with another council has got nothing to do with your pipes that are connected to one another. It's absolutely about the best councils that we could potentially partner with to do the best delivery plan for our communities respectfully. So through you, Monique, I would like to explore that we amend option 2 to consider a broader range of opportunities. I understand the modelling will be difficult, but it doesn't matter what scenario we investigate today, whether that's on our own, whether that's with 2, 3 or 4, there's still a whole lot of analysis that's required to be undertaken. And so I just think that analysis should explore other opportunities should they arise. And I don't want to close us off as a community and a council to those options if they're still available to us. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Councillor Tamihana, and through you, Your Worship. I can understand the cautiousness around, we've come to a point in this long journey, and councillors will recall that prior to Christmas, you shortlisted some options, and in shortlisting some options, we said goodbye to Wellington. And the government policy has required us to make sure that we have enough analysis around options to be in a position to front up to our community to say, hey, if we look down this road, what would it mean for you as a ratepayer? We were quite deliberate in ensuring that option 2 included both the Manawatu-Wanganui region, so any council from Horizons, and of course Kapiti. To broaden that further, I'd probably just make a couple of references. Council has excluded Wellington as an option. So for us to put Wellington in here would require council to revoke its previous decision and actually have a conversation with Wellington, who are progressing without us. But to your point, Councillor Tamihana, which is a really relevant one about, well, what if we end up in a position of wanting to work with willing partners, but those willing partners are not Horizons region or are not Kapiti? My strong advice to the table is at that point in time, we're going to be going to the government and we're going to be saying we need more time. We need an extension to this process. We need your help, government, because as a council, we've tried really hard to look for options about what's in the best interests of this community. And the current process has not incentivised or allowed us to explore those other options around, partnering with a council on the South Island, partnering with a council on the East Coast. And I hear you, Councillor Tamihana, that there are going to be other councils like us that want to, that might find themselves in a situation of not being quite sure where this is going to land. And what I'd encourage the table is probably 2 key things. So on the 17th of March, Mayor Burney and I are meeting with the Minister of Local Government, and part of the corridor with the Minister will be about the position we find ourselves in and the fact that there is no legal mechanism that makes your decision easy alongside other councils who will also be making a decision over those 2 days, but also to acknowledge the help that we need from government if we find ourselves in a position come October when we've got to submit our water services delivery plan. And what if, and it might not be a Horowhenua council, it could be another council, like how do we support the orphan councils? But ultimately, what does that mean for the residents and ratepayers of Horowhenua? So hear your concerns. My advice would be not to broaden option 2 right now, but we've obviously had some helpful legal advice to ensure that if we needed to pivot, we have protected council within the bounds of the modelling that you've had done to date within your mandate to us around what those shortlisted options are. But we'll continue to have to respond to government policy direction. So it's a good and helpful question, Councillor Tamihana.
No, thank you very much. And I just ask, is that captured in this report that we're going to adopt today in terms of that process you just explained to us? Thank you.
Just to add to that, the Minister at our local government sector meeting at the end of last week was very adamant that we just need to get on and do this, and do not wait to the last moment to put your hand up to say that you need help. they will not be very supportive of that sort of action. If you think that you are going to need support or help, then please signal at a very early stage as to whether that needs. But I suspect, as the Chief Executive said, there will be a number of councils in the same position as us in terms of that. Yeah. Councillor Proctor.
I think it's just gone off. Was that okay? Oh.
Yeah, you're on.
I'm trying to think of a question, or word this as a question, but is there I'm looking at your engaging with Māori section in the report. Is there a specific strategy about engaging with the Māori land trusts, and two in particular are the Lake Horowhenua Trust that take all our stormwater, our heavily polluted stormwater, and then the Hukau Lands Trusts, which then takes all our treated wastewater at the pot as well. So I'm just wondering if there is a specific engagement strategy, consultation strategy with them.
Yeah, so through you, Worship, I'm happy to speak to that. We've worked really hard kind of over the course of the many versions and generations of water reform to engage our iwi partners, but in particularly over the last 6 months, providing the information to partners around the policy settings and giving advice and guidance about where they can put their energy in terms of the influencing the model as we currently see it. There has been face-to-face conversations with each of our partners, but on the 19th of March, there is a collaborative hui of all partners across the 4-council option, and the intent behind that is to not just provide some information, but actually create a space where collectively iwi can have a conversation about their views and perspectives into the engagement process. That has not included Lake Horowhenua Trust. It's been a focus on it with iwi partners. But as you know, we're engaging with Lake Horowhenua Trust on other mahi, and we can definitely have a direct conversation to help them, I suppose, understand the pros and cons of not just the options council are consulting on, but probably more importantly, the proposed changes to environmental standards, the impacts of economic regulation, and what the influencing mechanism may or may not be under a water organisation.
So just the languaging around lumping them in as iwi and hapu and generic sort of processes of engagement around Māori is not what I was looking for. These are specific land trusts, specific business entities that have assets that provide a service in that water space that I think need to be engaged with separately on how that relationship about that service they actually provide is going to go forward as well.
Through your worship, I don't disagree with you, Councillor Proctor, and I think that certainly in the former reform structure of Three Waters reform, where we were having conversations about shifting of assets, there were, at the time, some quite detailed conversations, for example, with Moepuko Lands Trust. We're in a different space at the moment where a lot of that detail really depends on what decision council makes on the 14th of May to then give us permission or not to go ahead and work through that detail. But you raise a really valid point, and we'll note that and take it away, and as a project team have a conversation about how we can make sure that doesn't fall between the cracks.
Just noting that Councillors Hori, Tapar and Barker have joined the table. Also, we're having trouble establishing the link to Councillor Boyle. Oh, just joined us. Welcome, Councillor Boyle.
I've been sent through the link now, so I'm online. Cheers.
Thank you. So Councillor Boyle, we're just talking about the consultation document for local water. Do you have any questions of the team at all in regards to that?
No further questions. Really happy with the document.
Thank you. Any further questions? That being the case, we will then move to the recommendations, which I will move separately. Recommendation C is that council notes its previous preferred option, a joint council water services arrangement with Kapiti Coast District Council, is no longer a practical option. Moved by Councillor Brannigan, seconded by Councillor Young. Is there any debate or discussion on that? Put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Recommendation D, that council endorse option 1, a water services organisation jointly owned by Horowhenua District Council, Palmerston North City Council, Manawatu District Council and Kapiti Coast Council as the preferred option. Moved by Councillor Proctor. Seconded by Councillor Tamihana. Any further discussion or debate on that? I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Recommendation E, that council adopt for consultation the draft consultation document, have your say on who delivers local water services for consultation, attached as attachment A. Moved by Deputy Mayor Allen, seconded by Councillor Proctor. Put that motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. And recommendation F, that council consults with the community following the streamlined process for consultation and decision making regarding the transfer of water services outlined in the Local Government Water Services Preliminary Arrangements Act 2024. Moved by Councillor Jennings, seconded by Councillor Brannigan. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. We'll move G and H together, that the hearings of any submissions on this matter be heard by council, and H, that the council delegates to the chief executive to make minor editorial changes to the consultation document. Moved by Councillor Young, seconded by Councillor Grimstone. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Well done, team. Can I just acknowledge this milestone? Actually, it's been a pretty long and arduous journey to get here. I mean, when you think that we've been actually considering Three Waters since 2018, to so finally get this where we can put a proposal to our community, I think is really a fantastic achievement. It has been a long and arduous journey, hasn't it? And times felt like we've been operating in a maze, and not knowing without the lights on, but also having lots of different endings that we could have had. And I just want to acknowledge the huge amount of work that's gone into getting us to this position. The Chief Executive and her team for their guidance and support, and the many, many workshops, papers that we've received that explain the modelling and the different options that were in front of us, and gave us plenty of opportunity to question and to discuss those. But also Dan from Morrison Lowe, I think his work has been actually very, very useful in terms of us understanding what the issues are, and the fact that the four councils have been operating together in terms of trying to find a solution has been really meritorious. We are asking a lot of our community. I don't think our community really understand the implications of what we've got in front of us. And so we have a huge job actually to ensure that they know and understand what is in front of them, because this is almost a generational decision, even though we could be, it may not be the end of it. There might be further decisions that we have to make further down the track. And not knowing what their future looks like does cause one to be a little anxious about the future. Anyway, thank you very much, and we will now move to our second item on the agenda, which is our late item, which is the state highway speed limit reversals. And I'm going to welcome James to the table. And while James does so, can I just move the recommendations on page number 6, numbers 9 and 10, that the report be received and that this matter or decision is recognised as not significant. Welcome, James. Introduce your report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Good morning, Council. I'll start off with a brief introduction explaining why we're here specifically. So the NZTA are looking at reversing speed limit changes which were implemented in 2022 on the state highways within our district, specifically State Highway 57 from Heatherley East Road to the State Highway 1 intersection at Kimberley, and State Highway 1 from Oahu down to the Pukeho Overbridge, which is about 2 k's south of Manukau on State Highway 1. So I sent an email out on the 31st of January to Council advising elected members of the change and seeking some views on whether Council would be willing to make a submission and what the potential position of that submission could be. Subsequently, was asked for some further information, which we've gone and did a little digging through the safety stats of the two sections and provided that. And then on the 12th of February, we had a briefing. I don't believe it was a scheduled briefing. I think it was a bit of an informal workshop briefing among councillors where we discussed and answered some questions around what to do, and there was a general feeling around the position to draft a submission for review from council which opposes both proposals. Subsequently, we've gone and drafted that submission and circulated it to council. And following on from that, councillors, there's been a view expressed that the position of the submission isn't supported by the full table. So the purpose of today is to bring the decision on whether to make a submission and what position to take in that submission to a council meeting and have a formal decision on it. We do have to get the submission in by the 13th of February. Thank you. And the next steps portion of the report towards the back end of it explains the time frame of how that would happen. And if council did elect to go for the recommended option, I would still plan to redraft the submission based on some feedback in our discussions around, rather than lumping both state highways into one consideration, to look at them both separately and discuss the rationale between support and oppose separately, unless I'm directed otherwise. But that's about the size of it. I'm very happy to take any questions from the table on the report.
Any questions of James? Councillor Timio.
Morena James, thank you for the report. Really well written report. My only consideration in this, and it's probably directed around our growth strategy and our planning strategy, is I'm a little bit concerned about reverting parts of this roading that's been promoted back to 80 or 100. I wonder why we didn't consider a reduction of speed in some areas with the forecasted growth and developments that we have in the district. So that's probably my only hesitation to supporting us doing a submission. I'm worried that in Waka Kotahi require an alternate use road from the new O2NL. Whether that's going to be out of Paepae or the road in front of our building here, we don't know. But my fear is, regardless of what it is, there's going to need to still be two main routes through here, and I want to ensure that later on we're not actually going for a review process because of potentially a housing development and other things that we've got going on that are going to require a 50k area in the future. So I was just trying to think, have we cast forward enough in our thinking? Is it aligning with our growth and planned growth? And if that's the case, then we should be reflecting that in the submission now to indicate to Waka Kotahi that actually some of these areas need a different consideration by future use. So that was my only consideration at this point in time. Otherwise, very well put together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tamiana. Yes, that is a very good, pertinent question. So for this particular process, NZTA are restricted in what they can do. It's not a speed limit review like we've seen in the past, where they have a good hard look on what the best option with the speed limit is. Their decision is pretty much go back to the old speed limit of 100 or stay, and the trigger is the level of public support for the existing speed limit. So if the existing speed limit has a lot of public support, they're not really doing a big, thorough looking at the speed limit. So changing the extents or changing the actual speed limits within this area isn't part. But in our submission, we can signal a desire for a future speed review process, but that won't be implemented as part of this particular process.
Thank you, James. I also just want to acknowledge the work that you did in supporting the Horizons submission, which was acknowledged at the Regional Transport Committee yesterday and was fully endorsed by their committee, which includes mayors and community representatives from around the region. So I know you played a big role in terms of providing information for that submission. So thank you. And the Horizons submission is, as ours is, opposing the reversal back to 100. So thank you. All right, so the recommendation is number 11, that Council requests the Chief Executive to draft a submission, circulate to councillors for feedback and submit on behalf of Council on NZTA's consultation on the Manawatu Wanganui region speed limits, which opposes the State Highway 57 State Highway 1 to Heatherley East Road speed limit reversal, and opposes the State Highway 1 Ohau to Pukekohe overbridge speed limit reversal. Councillor Proctor.
I'd like to move option B.
Option B.
Oh, do I need the paragraph?
So,
Page 10. Paragraph 42. 41, sorry.
oh, sorry. Yeah, look, I was reading the wrong page, obviously. I was reading the recommendation on page number 6. So, Councillor Proctor is moving the option B on page 10, 41.1. Council instructs the Chief Executive to draft a submission on NZTA's consultation on the Manawatu Wanganui region speed limits, which supports the State Highway 57 State Highway 1 to Heatherley East Road speed limit reversal, but opposes the State Highway 1 Ohau to Pukekohe overbridge speed limit reversal. Is that correct? Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Jennings. All right, so the motion's on the table. Any discussion or debate? Councillor Proctor, you wish to lead off?
I'll be quick. I just think this is an option that gets traffic moving around our town. We need to provide that pathway for traffic to move around town. And we all know what it's like during holiday seasons and various times with traffic backing all the way up through State Highway 1, all the way back to, well, in some cases, all the way back to Oho and Manukau. And so I think this is a sensible option to have traffic move a little bit faster around that eastern side of town.
Councillor Jennings.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Further to what Councillor Proctor has articulated, I too think this is a sort of a middle of the road option. I think that the original submission that opposes both proposals, my gut feel is that we are misaligned with our community sentiment. I feel like that there is a wider view that perhaps we haven't taken on board, that there is support for reversal of those speed limits, and so that's why I propose to support this option. I don't suspect it will pass, I think, based on the feedback at the previous workshop, but I think it's important to articulate the support for, I guess, a more bespoke approach to this, which is clearly acknowledging where there are parts of the network where reversal doesn't make sense, but where reversal does make sense in other instances. So that's where I sit.
Councillor Boyle?
Hi, everyone. I'll also be speaking in support of this motion. I lived on that side of town for quite some time. I've seen that road and I've seen the change that 80k speed limit has had on it. It's tolerable at this time of year, but when it gets round to Christmas season, it is going to be an absolute nightmare. This is a logical step, and we should take the opportunity we have now for the reversal, especially on Heatherley's side. I 100% support the safety improvements and the speed reduction in the logical area around Ohau, but this is a good choice. I'll be voting in support of it.
To speak against this recommendation, which I'm sure is no surprise to many of you, that I cannot endorse a reversal of the speed limit for this area. And I do take a little bit of sort of Councillor Jennings' comment that we've misaligned with our community. The community is telling me very much that they do not wish it to go back to 100. The 700 residents of Speldhurst being the primary ones, but there are other people that I have talked to that reside on that stretch of road at Arapaipai, around Tarara Road area, are very much against this reversal going back to 100 kilometres. And I was very interested in the news article that I saw on One News, in fact, that the work done by a consultant firm provided to NZTA since the speed limits were dropped clearly showed the economic benefit is greater because you reduce deaths and serious injuries on these parts of the road rather than having people drive 1 or 2 minutes faster. I certainly believe that we should keep it as it is, and I think that is actually reflecting the views of our community, so I won't be supporting this. Deputy Mayor Allen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, on this occasion I endorse your stance on this, and I guess my invitation perhaps to Councillor Proctor and Wright of Reply is to address the stats on page 8, which talk about the time saved in the State Highway 57 in particular of 29 seconds as a result of the increase in the speed limit, and also to address the crash data, which is also contained on page 8. So those are my challenges, I guess.
Councillor Breen.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner, and I'll support your comments as well. And to me, it would be border on madness to advocate for this road to go back to 100 kilometres an hour for many reasons. And you've just touched on one. Deputy Mayor Allen's just touched on one, being Speldhurst, which has grown since the advent of that road being taken down to a lower speed limit. Ahead of us, we've got the work around the O2NL, and obviously the development and the growth areas of Tarahika. And the growth on the east side. So those roads all feed across around Arapaipai Road. Secondly, again, there'll be a big, potentially big roundabout on Arapaipai around Tarara Road, and a lot more traffic coming through from that east side into Levin. If you drive down that stretch of road, there's many intersections. And that road has become far safer, as is State Highway 1 between here and Pukehau Overbridge, has become far safer with reducing that speed limit to 80 kilometres an hour, and the data is clear on that. So there's absolutely no justification whatsoever for us to encourage increasing that speed limit back. It just borders on madness, so I won't be supporting it.
Councillor Grimstone.
Yeah, look, I think the crash data stats actually talk for themselves as to the rationale behind, but so does the commentary from experts that Waka Kotahi used to reduce the speed limits, that mention lowering the speed limit gives more margin for error if the driver makes a mistake. Reducing speed limits, the safe and appropriate speed for the road, is the most immediate and effective action we can take to reduce death and serious injury. No matter what causes a crash, speed is always a factor in the severity of crash outcomes. So then 2-3 years on, you look at the crash data and you can see that there's 32 crashes per year down to 20. 19 non-injury crashes per year down to 12. Fatal crashes, 0. There was no crashes in this data, which goes to prove that the advice that was originally provided to justify the reduction has actually turned into reality. And for this basis, I would vote against the in-between option. I feel that our roads, our local roads, are safer at 80. We have a new road coming, albeit it's going to be a few years away. That will address any congestion issues we have at holiday times and local times when that is built. So maybe we should just focus on getting that road built rather than changing speed limits.
Councillor, sorry, before you get your right of reply, Councillor Proctor, I'll just check that no one else wants to speak.
Sorry, I didn't speak, but I think you know my position when I asked for reduction. So,
Thank you. Councillor Proctor, your right of reply.
Thanks. I know I'm probably on hiding nothing with this one, but I'll give it a crack, seeing as Deputy Mayor Allen decided to touch upon my affinity for data and statistics and being a scientist. I look at that graph, and there's a lot of famous sayings about statistics and lies and the art of presenting data as well. And if we look at that graph, we actually see that the serious injuries and the fatal crashes have actually remained static over time. And so there's been very, very little impact on that portion of the graph. And we also need to look at the line between 2022 and 2023 and what else was going on at that point to reduce traffic in that area. So not only are we post-COVID and there's less traffic occurring in that area, but we also built a big roundabout which people avoided and didn't want to be held up while the roundabout was being built in, as well as all the safety measures that were put on that road as well. And so you don't see a major reduction in the loss of life on that road due to the speed limit change. We see a major change in people's behaviour because of roadworks, because of using different pathways to get to wherever they're going. But also between 2022 and 2023, we're all aware, I'm pretty sure every single person around this table had a ticket while driving down that road when the speed change was in place, because the police were pretty much there for 6 months to a year ticketing everyone during that speed change as well. And that probably saw the reduction in a lot of those minor crashes. So there's my argument for the statistics and the art of presenting statistics as well. And I really don't see that changing it back up to 100 will see much of a change in that fatalities or serious injury crashes as well. And the final point is that while I like data and statistics, I still sit here like Mayor Burney and represent a portion of our community and a portion of our community who use that road every day, farmers, people who live in the rural area that sometimes people forget about, that like to be able to get in and out of town as quick as possible, like to be able to do things around town as much as they can, visit various blocks of land without being held up by traffic congestion around these areas as well. So, yep, I'm going to stick with option B.
Thank you. We'll just have a show of hands for this. So those in favour of the motion of option B, can you please raise your hand? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those against? Oh, Rogan, sorry. Yes, so that's 4. Those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the motion is lost. Thank you. So Deputy Mayor is moving option A. Is there a seconder? Councillor Tamihana, thank you. So option A is that Council instructs the Chief Executive to draft a submission, circulate to councillors for feedback and submit on behalf of Council on NZTA's consultation on the Manawatu-Wanganui region speed limits, which opposes the State Highway 57, State Highway 1 Hatherley East Road speed limit reversal, and opposes the State Highway 1 Ohau to Pikau overbridge speed limit reversal. Anyone? So Councillor Deputy Mayor Allen? No. Anyone else wish to speak? I'll put that motion. All those in favour, again, raise your hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Against? 1, 2, 3, 4. Councillor Boyle?
He was in favour.
Happy to vote for.
Vote for.
Will of the table.
Thank you. All right, so the motion is carried. Thank you. Noting that, of course, that that draft will be back with councillors in the next couple of days, I assume, because of the time frames that we've got in terms of submission. Yeah.
Through your worship, acknowledging you've given me delegation to submit.
Yep.
So we'll obviously make sure the final submission is provided to councillors.
Thank you. Right, so that brings our council meeting to a close. We do have workshops this afternoon, but they are open to the public and have been advised or advertised as being available. So we are starting at
So just for clarity, one is public excluded. We begin with our public workshop at 1 p.m.
1 p.m. All right, thank you. So thank you, staff and councillors. Thank you to those people who are in chambers and anyone watching online. If we could just conclude our meeting with our normal karakia, please. Kia whakauria te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara, kia tūriki whakataha ai, kia tūriki whakataha ai, hui e, tā e kia. Thank you all.